Oh, and I forgot to add, we are recording. If you got an issue with recording, just let me know. Excellent. Yeah, getting the students excited for learning, remembering that we got community here for us. Awesome. Math and algebra and geometry, great. Yeah, I got some ideas for you. We're gonna. Yes, we can even go a little bit into how Mary. We can go into how it's more advanced, but how to guide your students through developing a project. Find some ways to highlight learning happening at home with state and district. Yes, yes. I have like some home projects that making distance learning meaningful, being open to change, wonderful. Introducing learning activities beyond worksheets, particularly for young children, kindergarten. Yes, now that is this today I'm going to focus a lot more on the upper grades. However, Danielle, if you email me and I can send you some resources, be patient with yourself. Yes, go Heather. Asija, supporting families with project-based learning. It's something a lot of I'll share some of the projects with you that I've been thinking about that I think parents would really enjoy too. Excellent. Thank you so much everyone for sharing. You can keep throwing those in the chat. You can also just write them in a little notebook. It's really for you. And so you can write that down. It's something great you can revisit kind of at the end of the year. And let's keep on moving. So, ooh, so what is project-based learning? Wikipedia says that project-based learning is a student-centered pedagogy that involves a dynamic classroom approach in which it is believed that students acquire a deeper knowledge through active exploration of real-world challenges and problems. Okay, so that's the gist of project-based learning. So the key parts are student-centered, right? And a dynamic classroom approach. So we're not just relying on one tool or one way to share information, but we're engaging the whole classroom and real world challenges and problems. And that is where, like, well, we're going to get to that in just a second. That is what I'm all about, is how do we, feed two birds with one worm? How do we educate our youth and prepare them to like go into their community and be civic leaders? And we got a lot of problems right now in the communities that are keeping that hold our communities and our youth back from reaching that goal. So how do we address those problems right now, and how do we empower our youth to address it with the tools and resources they need to address those problems? That's why I love project-based learning. So going into that, let's look at what we were doing this year at Willie Brown. Okay. All right. So here is our little drive. So everyone should have access to this. If you don't have access to this, you should just let me know, but everyone should. And I'm just going to look at the overview. Here we go. So, oh, got a little ahead of myself. Okay, close this. All right. So here are a few projects that I planned out. And so what I did first and what I've started doing just to help me organize, okay, And now these were, it's still taking its time. These are projects that I kind of just planned out, and then you can see some other ideas, but basically to give people an idea. And these are cross-curricular. So this is looking at skills. I didn't put in standards. I could have put in standards, but for this particular, this is something I'm actually creating for my business, and not every country uses the same standards, and I'm trying to start an international business. So I put the skills. You could put the standards that that you want to address for say this project. And if you look here, let's go back to the first one. So this is how to start a business. And this was the project that we did with the Willie Brown students last year. This project was a part of a grant, and it was a $5,000 grant for to address the achievement gap. And I had always wanted to do a student entrepreneurship project. And the reason I mean, we live in a world where everybody needs money. And a lot of the problems that we see in the world exist because people don't have access to resources because they don't have money. And so I was like, let's teach the kids how to start their own business and start so that they can learn um, like the skills they need to like make money no matter what. Because I grew up poor, and I know people who don't grow up poor are like, money's not that important, but you've never been poor. So it's important, and a lot of the issues that our families are really suffering are experiencing come from not having access to resources. It's also very motivating, and the idea was for students to create a social enterprise. So they had to create a business that also addressed an issue in their community. So it had to be a business that was solving a problem in the community. And that allowed them, they had to actually think about issues within their community and what could be done. And through this, it's applied problem solving. So they needed to make their budget plans, and they needed to review data. They needed to make their business plan, so they had to write up their business plan. So they're using all of their ELA skills and writing skills to do that. They had to use their analysis and research skills in creating SWOT analysis, which I'll show you in a little bit in just a moment. It incorporated art and design because to design their logo, to design their promotional video, a jingle, a meme, whatever. And also understanding other people's point of view, because I don't know if anyone else has had this experience in middle school, but developmentally, they typically have a hard time taking other people's feelings into account. And when you have a business and you rely on customers, you have to care what your customer thinks. And for students, especially it's just developmentally where they are to actually see, we like to actually have to put themselves in someone else's position and then think about how their behavior and their actions are going to, you know, impact whether that person wants to engage with them. And it's very interesting to see students who typically were not interested in that and didn't care, uh, started caring and started thinking like, oh wow, like if I talk to my customer like this or a potential customer like this, and then thinking like, oh well, I got to learn new ways to talk to people because I want to make money. And so that empathy came out, as well as Collaboration. So how we developed it was they were going to be working in groups initially to start their businesses. So how to work in groups and things like that. And then self-regulation and resilience, like keeping your cool when your customer's acting a fool. Like basically, I was like, what if your customer starts acting the way you act in the classroom sometimes? You know, what are you going to say to them? And you know, it was very sobering for some of the youth. So that was the overview for someone who's maybe just focusing on one topic or area. You can just put in your standards. You can just put in what standards you think you could cover through this project. And if you look here, you'll see this is about 5 to 10 sessions. So that's about 5 to 10 weeks of learning. Once you finish this, all you have to do is press play. Okay, so let's go in here and see what this project looked like. So I like to use Google Forms. I found them to be great for organizing my projects because I could make a form for each day, and all the information was going to be sent to me. I didn't have to, you know, chase down people for paper and stuff like that and lose paper. And so I really liked this for accountability for both me and for the students. And what I did at the beginning was just how do we just make our rules and expectations, okay? Um, because it's much easier if the students decide on this, and I'm sure you've talked about this in other workshops. So in asking questions, you know, what agreements should we make? Is it fair for students to participate in the program if they're being unsafe or not doing work in their daily classes? This was an after-school program. What do you think should happen to people who break our agreements and create an unsafe environment? And each group will have a job, so, you know, putting in the group jobs and roles, okay? And so the best thing about that is once it's done, everyone can put in their information. And then the following class, I was able to just review what people wrote, and we could put that information together to make our class agreements. And we voted, and they decided on how they wanted it to look. The other thing is we found out that there was another grant available, and this was actually a youth-led grant. And I don't know if they're going to have it this year, but keep it on your radar. Bling, and Tierra Christian was our person who came and spoke with the students about it. So that link is actually right here, and that's the Bling link. And that was they had $5,000 and $10,000 grants. And so the students shared, this was a little video, so you can put in your videos and things like that. And then I would just connect, you know, a few questions to go along with each video. And then she was also coming in to speak, so some things that they learned from the speaker. And this was a form I created after the workshop, so I created a little later, so we don't have the responses. So that was the first part, just kind of getting the group roles and expectations and giving them a little, you know, some ideas of other, you know, youth who've organized to, we'll see what's going on there. And so here we're finalizing. This was day 2. And then we're finalizing our agreements. This is key at the beginning. You can copy this and use it as a template, or you can create your own. However, it's important. And then also business ideas. So I tried to pull in as many, you know, as much that was relevant to the students. So this is actually a kid who's making cash on YouTube. He has a bunch of videos and things like that. I don't know how much money he's making, but probably more than me. So I wanted to share that so the kids can think. And he made a video on like, here are some ways that kids can make money. And they were working in groups. So then after they watched that video, they started brainstorming what they might want, some ideas that they had. Then choose one of those ideas. And this is where your analysis. So as a SPED teacher, a lot of there's a lot of different types of learning, and analysis is a higher level of learning. You have to actually like take the information and churn that information and create something, come up with a new idea out of it, or something like that. And so it requires quite a few skills, and so students need quite a bit of practice on analysis. And so this was a way so they first started by analyzing a different business. So maybe a business that they wanted to model their business off of, and then they do their SWOT analysis on their own business. Okay, and then coming up with their business name. So that was day 2. All right, and I want to show you. Let's see. Are we doing on time? Okay, we're going to take a break in just a moment. And I'll show you the last 2 really quickly, and then we'll take a break. So then, of course, with a business, the next thing you need to learn how to do is to brand your business, okay? And so here, I think that was a repeat. So here we've got our logo design. This is getting to your arts, your arts and extension and things like that. Your business logo. What problem does your business solve in your community? How do you plan to address that problem? And understanding how to make a plan to sell your products and things like that. So here we're getting more into marketing. This is thinking about, okay, what kind of other businesses might we need to collaborate with, and all of that. And then finally, we have budget planning. And so here's their budget plan. Each day, I remember, I didn't want them to forget the agreements, and I didn't want to keep repeating myself. So I made them do it every day, every time. That was why. I was like, why did I do this? That's why. So so here we have each time they came together, they had to basically re-agree to the agreements. And I made them type them all out too, so just in case they forgot. And they also had to assess whether they fulfilled their group role. Like each group had a job, and so they had to grade themselves and everyone else on finishing whatever job they had, whether it was cleaning up or we had food delivered, so something like that, bringing the food, stuff like that. And here we get into the budget. So now we're getting into more of your math and your applied math skills, coming up with the price, things like that. And then lastly, figuring out what other materials they might need. So that was the whole project. And that took us from January to just right before COVID. But right before we had to go like work from home. And so they through that time, so between January and March, I had the students once a week after school. They completed all these parts. So they completed their budget plan, they completed their SWOTs, their business plan, and everything. And they were able to use that information to apply for their own grant, to receive more money for their businesses. And after we started teaching from home, we continued the program. However, students, they had already decided on their business, you know, what they were going to do in their materials, but everything was mailed to individual students. They didn't work on it together. They worked on it individually. And let me see if I actually have. I'll pull those up during the break. So that was quite a bit of information, y'all. I'm gonna stop the screen share for a second, and we're gonna take a quick break. You can get in there and look more closely at the projects and write down any questions that you might have. And let me see if there's anything else. I'm gonna pull up the some pictures so you can see some of the projects and things that the students came up with from that particular project. And we'll be back in, let's take about a 10-minute break. We're just going to take one 10-minute break during this workshop. And yeah, I feel like 10 minutes might be a little too. We're going to do a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up. We'll give you some time. You can go ahead and start planning your project. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and then I'll be here so I can also support. So let me just pull that up. No, not that one. So. Oh, well, we're a little bit behind time, but it's okay. Okay, planning your own project. Okay, so here's the presentation. Crystal, can you put the another link for the presentation in the chat? Crystal's putting it in the chat. Thank you so much. And here are some guiding questions. And so here are some guiding questions to help you get started if you want to just start thinking about some ideas for how you might plan your own project. And we will be back in we'll be back in another 8 minutes. I'm going to try to put on some music. Let's see how this goes. All right, we're gonna come back. Oop, turn this off. Here we go. Welcome back. I hope you are rested and rejuvenated, ready to start creating your own projects. Let me pull the chat up, see if anybody has any questions. So if you have any questions, throw it in the chat, let me know, and we're gonna go ahead and move into, I like to do too much. So we got 45 minutes. We're gonna get this done. So now let me share again. Yes. Here we go. Okay, we are shared, and we're looking at some guiding questions, and I also threw in some links. Okay, so the links, we've got the PBL Works projects and resources, where they already have projects that are like kind of ready to go. You can adjust them. They're not necessarily virtual, so you just kind of have to look and see. This is the composer is another. They have more civic, so more around civics, social justice, and things like that. But they typically will pull in some of the core subjects as well, and then the link for Google Forms so that you can so you can make your forms. I highly recommend it for keeping track. And so here are our questions. What standards would I like to cover? So um, that's our accountability on our side, is really thinking about, okay, what kind of standards do I need to cover, and which ones can I chunk together, okay, so that I can really meet as many standards as possible in just a few activities. And so if the Common Core, you can just go into the Common Core. So here are the math standards, and pull up the standards by your grade level. And that's kind of how I start when I'm kind of getting the gist for the year of what do I have to actually cover for this year. I've taught from pre-K up through high school. And so it's a lot. Sometimes one year I might be teaching second grade, the other year I might be teaching middle school. So I just go to the standards to see like what's expected to be taught. Unfortunately, not all of the standards are aligned with student development and brain development, and that's something that I would like to fix, but I got a lot of problems right now and I'm just trying to stay focused. So do your best, and some standards some standards are just hard to meet. I don't The brain is not ready for algebra so early, but that's another conversation. Um, Moving on to what fundamental student or community needs can our project address? Okay, and so let's go back to this form here, and you'll see at the end there are other projects. So one is how to build a garden, and so of course I started this before we were staying at home, and I might shift it to how to build a window box garden. And what I like to do, I built a curriculum for the Nature Conservancy where it was all around pollinators. And so you have to build a garden to attract pollinators or to help the bees, how to make a bee garden. And that brings in a lot of the social justice, civics, as well as the science. Someone was asking about geometry. And so with your geometry, especially if, say, the students have to build a model first, and you can even say your model needs to be to scale or something. And so that brings in an opportunity for that. How to make soap. So I'm making a COVID lesson right now. And so the soap was a part of it. I actually did this at Willie Brown last year too. And I made some little worksheets so they could learn. This one is something you actually need to do with an adult, like this particular lesson, because it's because of the lye. They're actually making it from scratch. I love to make soap, so this isn't something that I would do right now as a from home project. But there are other ways you can make soap just using the soap bases. But for them to really see the chemical, this was about the chemical reaction, so they really needed to see that happen. So we made some soap last year. And then here are some of the other projects that I've been working on. And so gaming math, and this is great for most grade levels. I think the youngest grade level I've done gaming math with is probably first grade. And what we do is come up with a game to practice a skill. And for the older students, I actually have them identify the skill, and they make a game to teach a skill, like a fourth grade, the middle school students would make a game to teach a fourth grade skill. So maybe they would teach a game to teach multiplication. And this was all done through a Google form too, but I have to redo it. And interpreting data for justice, that one is I created, and that one is actually fillable PDFs. And throw it in the chat. Let me know if you want to learn how to make a fillable PDF. It's super easy. I think I could fit it in today. Creating music and podcasts to share your unique vision for the future. And we all have access to Soundtrap, and I love it. I actually used it last year. I made a after-school program that I was like doing for a private school. Soundtrap. And so if you haven't gotten into there, oh, nope. Let me see what happened. To check it out, I highly suggest checking it out because it's a great way. Especially students can make podcasts and things like that too. This is already, what is it? It's already checked off by the district. This is a district approved software. And so if you haven't, and you're especially for ELA, I mean, really anything. If you want to, like it could be make a science video, or a jingle or whatever. Just really, you can bring it into any subject. So that is going to be, I think, probably middle school and up for Soundtrap. With the younger students, you can do it in class, and some of the elementary school students would probably be able to pick it up pretty quickly. Cross-curricular collaboration, and so that is thinking about maybe you come up with a project like with the business project where it's got a lot of math and a lot of ELA standards, and so you can talk to the ELA teacher and see if they want to collaborate, and that's it's really great for the students to kind of have like you're doing the same thing in all the classes and seeing how all of these disciplines relate to each other. They're not segmented. It's not how the world works. We're not preparing for, like, you don't just do math at math time. Math is happening all the time. We're always analyzing. And so to help students see how all of these disciplines work, you learn all these skills from all these different disciplines, and you put them together to work together to like make a project. And how will I assess? And so that's another reason why I like the Google Forms, is because you can assess. You have all the students are filling it out. You got it. It's all laid out in a spreadsheet. You can see who turned it in. You just have to decide how you want to weight things, basically. And I normally assign it through Google Classrooms. And then are there opportunities to connect to the larger community? And so that's what I wanted to show really quickly. How are we doing? Okay, we're doing all right on time. So I wanted to share some of the, so here is our trip. So for our business club, we actually went and visited a business. And Chef Skinder, he's from Ethiopia. He was a refugee, came here, was working in restaurants and things like that, and then had an opportunity to start Radio Africa. And so I contacted him, and he invited us and made a meal for us. It was delicious. And shared with the students how he started his business, and the tools that he needed and the skills that he needed and the discipline that was around it. And it was great. The students loved it and continued to talk about it and request his food. So connecting with the community. I actually had some other communities come in. These were all Black leaders within the community, because I've been all up in the Bayview, so I know everybody. And so I was reached out to Bayview Magic, and their executive director, Liz Lynn, came in and talked to the students about how Bayview Magic, they support about 3,000 people in the Bayview through different initiatives that are connected through social organizations. So how to create a business that's actually addressing a social need. So especially with middle school, elementary school, you can get away with how much talking I'm doing right now. But in middle school, it just doesn't fly. They really don't want to hear anything from me as a teacher. But when I bring in community members, they were so engaged and respectful, and it was wonderful. So I highly recommend that. And I just wanted to show so here were some of the things that these are pictures that the students sent me of when they got their materials. So from their business club, we had the grant to send the materials. So one student decided to make masks, and so she got like a bunch of stuff to make masks. Some students were doing customized shoes. This was their SWOT analysis. There we go. There's a couple more. And let me see. And here were more shoes. So they did their customized shoe design. You know, I we all have, we have to choose our battles. I was trying to push for more, more than just custom shoes, but that's what they wanted to do. And at some point, you just gotta, you gotta let it go. So, and then one student made soap. And so these are all the soaps. He literally got the materials probably 3 days before. And I thought I had accidentally ordered him whole soaps because he had already made pretty much every one. Um, engagement was not a problem at all. They were definitely engaged. Okay, and that is, let me go back here, just make sure we're on. So, so those are some of the questions that I keep in mind. I'm thinking about, I might make a little template, but I just couldn't get it together. If folks want a little more guidance around it, you can definitely email me and reach out, and I can set you up with a little template. And now what we're gonna do is I want to give you some time. So we're okay. So we got about 15 minutes. Let's do 15 minutes to thank you so much, Crystal. Yes, Soundtrap is free for district teachers. Do you have to pay for the no, I don't think, no, you don't have to pay for Composer. Um Let me see. I think there's, so in Composer they have some projects are free and some projects you have to pay for, but you can just do the free projects, and there are quite a few. Um, and they're multimedia. It's not just worksheets and stuff like that. I'm gonna get back here in the chat. So I'm gonna go through the chat, answer these questions, and start thinking about what you here we go. Am I still screen sharing? Yes. Okay. Start thinking about what you would want to do for your project. You don't have to have your whole project planned out. Okay, like it takes a few sit down sessions. So don't feel like that. Just try to see if you can get an idea and start answering some of these questions. And hopefully, as when people start sharing, we'll be able to find ways to collaborate, and that folder is there, so I can curate that folder so that we can be putting more ideas and keep that as a working resource as well. Um, so great. And just thank you so much, Crystal. Oh, got it. Kenyatta, did you want to see more um examples? Just let me know.
It was what you had, but sorry about that. I'm trying to go through and look at the PBL works. resources. Um, let's see. But I like what you had with the business, and I saw that that was January to March. Ours is a little bit um, different. I'm trying to look for some kind of mini projects that could bring students together. Nothing as long as January to March would be a pretty long project.
Mm-hmm. Now
But
that particular project was I only saw them once a week. um for after school. So
okay, okay.
that was why if you were seeing them you know more than once a week, then which I don't know what that's going to look like actually. You might just be seeing students once a week with the virtual learning.
So I
um
guess this question, you that was the middle school you taught at, correct?
mhm.
I guess the key thing would it'd be interesting to know what students that I've had that you may have had, um, what their
Oh, where are you?
I'm at Lincoln High School.
Oh yeah, hold on. Lincoln. I'm not sure if any of the students who were in that particular project, who did that particular project, are at Lincoln. Let me check with them. Um,
Okay.
but and if they were, they could keep working on their like they're you know like once you get started, they can keep working on it and be more like leaders and guides.
Right, but they could either work on that, or if we have something else, since they've already have that resource, that gives them a kind of a elevation that they're already familiar with, and they can be student learners. They can
Mm-hmm.
help.
And you can look through that project and just pull the pieces to
Right.
so maybe you would just want to focus on what grade or what subject are you teaching?
I have algebra and geometry, and algebra one is primarily ninth graders, so it'll be incoming the eighth grader.
Oh yeah, so maybe if you maybe doing the budget and you know have you worked with Excel sheets? I was just thinking about this the other day, how you know when you set up a formula in an Excel sheet, you know
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like algebraic thinking. And so you could just do the budget part, and you could give them the other information. Like they wouldn't have to go through the other information. You could just say, here's the project, you know, like we have a business, and you know it's you know here's the business, what kind of materials are you going to need, and what is your budget, you know, sheet going to look like, and having them focus more on creating their formulas and express in their Excel sheet, because that would meet some of those math standards.
Well, that'll work once we have incorporated the anti-racist and all of that on the front end. What your project, I look one step further, is that's starting up the business. Now we look for the the application of, let's take what happens with COVID, of how will your business survive? What
Ooh.
graphs look like, not linear, where yours could potentially be linear programming, where now we could be dealing with the exponential as well as the linear functions, and what things can you do. So if you take your SWOT analysis, having to come up with ideas to where their business can thrive, or also look at what implications government would have on their business. So your start allows a lot more once they get to high school to take that, so much further. And what we're going for is applicable to what the kids are going through or
Yes.
going through.
Awesome. That's great. I love that idea, and getting into that higher and how to like and making projections, and oh, that's wonderful. Another thing that I was actually just talking with. So I just started. I've been doing the stock market, and that's actually the piece I wanted to add to the end of this lesson, was because in doing in you know when you're I'm investing in the stock market, I have to be following businesses and looking at their trends and looking at their charts and studying the data and making projections. And so that's something that there's a couple of free tools where students can do you can have a simulator, and so you could make your trades and using your analysis skills. So that's another way of that. But I love what you just said too.
If you come up with an easy program for the stock market, let me know because that is a lot to keep up with.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm about to make. While we talking right now, I think I might have made another $100. Um, but yeah, it's yeah, that I'm working on that this year. So I'll definitely send me an email. I'll email everyone I have in the sched with my info and I'll let you know once I get that done. All right. Anybody else got any questions?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Um,
Ben.
I was wondering, I sent you an email, but what other resources you might think would be good for scaling this to like a K through 2 band? I work with little ones, and a lot of this is out of their range for now.
Yes. And so for the K to 2, let me put a little more thought into it. And because I had really prepared for older grades for this particular presentation. And what I've been thinking about for the younger grades is more family projects. And so that it would be the the parent, like how like something that would be interesting to both the child and the parent. And so that's been my and I I'm not sure if the PBL, if they actually have any check there and see if they have any for younger grades. I haven't checked. I just haven't taught those grades in a while. And I will put together some, and I can let me just write a note for these folks that I need to follow up
Thank
with.
you.
You're welcome. All right, we've got about 5 more minutes, and then we're going to open it up for folks to share what they're thinking. I'll play some relaxing music or some thinking music. Ooh, hold on. Mm. And we are going to go ahead and come back to the group. And let me get my life together. See, here we go. Okay. Okay. We're back. And now it's y'all's turn to talk. Okay, so anyone have any ideas they want to share? Devlin, do you wanna bring your idea to the group?
Sure, I can talk a little bit. Sorry, my screen is off, but I like have. But yeah, so I am in K1 in the Bayview, and I am just trying to think of ways to do project-based learning for my families. And I was thinking just kind of something to get them started into it. Like maybe the first 2 weeks is like, what are we thinking about school, and kind of having like a broader question for them and their families about what do we want school to look like and why. And then that's my hook to get the parents in a little bit, because completely honest, the first round of distance learning was really rough for my families, and I get to loop up, and it was rough for me. Like we were all just trying to figure it out. But we've had a lot of great conversations about what works and what doesn't. So just trying to bring them into the conversation more about what do we want this to look like for us. And really like based off of those conversations, letting them lead the way and then trying to find ways that I can link the standards. So I think that's the part that I'm nervous about, is like, how do I link the standards if I'm truly letting them take the independence and autonomy of it?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, like that piece is where I'm struggling at. Like I'm super excited about having them design it, and they could tell me like, oh, we want to do Zoom every day, or we really want to do Zoom in the afternoon, or what does it look like on Zoom? Is it okay that our screens are off? But then like pushing my first graders, like, do you want to make a TikTok about it? Do you want to make an Instagram account? Do you just want to draw pictures, or someone take pictures of you at school so you can show to somebody else? But then how do I go back and be able to walk into my staff meetings or my big meetings with all the other first grade teachers and say like, they did this first grade listening and speaking standard, or we did this reading comprehension piece. But I think that's just me really going back and diving into standards more. But that's where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm gonna throw it out to the group, and then I have some ideas too. But like I said, I've been talking a lot, so let's throw it out to the group and see what are folks thinking. Um, any thoughts on how? So Devlin has her idea, and now she's wondering how she's gonna meet the standards with this idea. So Ben, I know you said you were from one of the younger grades, so this is a great opportunity for some of the younger grade folks to collaborate, and who might be familiar with the standards as well. What are folks thinking? All right, I'll start.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
you're glad. I think that sounds really cool and meaningful, since I think as educators, we're all thinking about what could school be in this time too. And I
Mm-hmm.
know with K1, mostly they need to write like a basic sentence, and it's really great if they can ask and answer questions based on something. And I know Nakia shared earlier that she tries to learn from other schools in other countries. So maybe even they can like read little books about what school looks like in different countries, before they propose their ideas about what school should look like. Um, and then they can ask each other questions based off their suggestions. I don't know. And they can also use Seesaw, which is a great way for them. They can write, but they can also record themselves talking about it. They can also draw on Seesaw. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mary. Anybody else have anything else they want to add? This is a great idea, Devlin. Go ahead.
Hey, hi Devlin, hi Mary. I wanted to add something around like supporting kids with like physical layout and space for distance learning. So like thinking about the problem that you would solve around like how you would support kids in setting up like an area or something like in their home that they have dedicated to distance learning. And then thinking about the ways that you bring in like if it's like a literacy standard, like the speaking and listening piece, which I think we often like don't do in elementary school. We bypass it for the reading and the writing. But like the frames that you're using for kids to have these discussions with each other and with their parents, and then like providing those also to parents to tie in the work that you're doing in class with the work that they're doing at home.
So you had the two parts. So the back part was the speaking and listening, and then the first part, remind me again. I have a short attention
The first part was like thinking not just about like community agreements, but like a physical place for learning in the home.
Yes. And I love that. And I was thinking with Devlin's too, and with this about the physical place, to have them draw it out, make a map, and how it could start. And this is something we all have to do kind of at the beginning of the year to help our students think about, but just thinking about what a body needs to like everybody needs to be able to focus, right? So is, if you need a quiet space, you need have you eaten, do you have water nearby, do you have a comfortable chair, do you have a desk, stuff like that. And to take it, so really starting from like the introduction being what do we need for a optimal learning environment, and then designing it. And so they could make a 2D model or a 3D model, and in the same way with Devlin's the kind of what they want to see, what should their school look like, so they can use their arts and then present it, and that's something the parents could help them do, as far as like recording a little presentation of what they feel, so then they're doing their speaking and then listening to other students, and it's a way to meet some of those standards. But I'm talking a lot again. These are great. Anybody else have anything to add, or anything they want to or another idea they might have as well?
I could share my idea.
Excellent.
So I was thinking about sustainable urban planning, like city planning, and I work in an elementary school, and I can't remember exactly what the project was, but when I taught second and third grade, they kind of dreamed of what the city should look like. So something similar to that, but considering what types of things would make our community more sustainable, like having green spaces and how that affects um, like the healthy waterways when the earth takes in some of that rainwater instead of it just washing chemicals down the gutters and stuff. And so just learning about different things, and like then the kids trying to design what could our community look like or do, and then maybe even we can actually physically do one of those projects to make the community a little more sustainable.
Yes. Yes. That is awesome, Mary. That's a great idea. You're starting from the beginning, in an inquiry, thinking about what the community needs. They can design, and it could be different students designing different parts of the city. And then it could be something that comes together one day, I think that's great. Who does anyone have what are folks thinking? Anyone have anything to add?
I'm just wondering about like input and what we're providing for students, and thinking about the Bayview and like examples of sustainability that already exist there, like historically and currently. And then, yeah, I guess I'm just wondering about that and like how we affirm like where kids come from while also like keeping an eye towards how things can be improved.
Acknowledging the work that's been done, and yeah, yeah, I think that's great. Connecting with the with a project like that, you connect to the local resources. So there's a ton of organizations that are already doing work in the community to better the community. It could also be thinking about, like, say right now the mayor has said that they're going to reallocate funding to the Black community to from the police. And so it could be something like that where it's like, oh, well, we're going to make a proposal that we will send to the mayor of of what we think it should look like. And any of those projects, it starts by looking at reaching out to the organizations that have been doing that work and connecting the youth to to these organizations and these people, so that they can see what work has already been done and assess, okay, where are we now, what's our baseline, and then setting they can set their goals. Excellent. Yeah, Devlin said to invite community members, to have them actually um um assess. So for the business, I tried, but just getting the materials to them, y'all don't even know. So anyways, the plan was to have those same people, the businesses and organizations who came to speak to the youth, we're going to assess their project plans at the end and give them feedback. So if I were to, so I think that's great to members who have town halls and inviting the supervisor um, to engage with the youth, so that the youth start to feel empowered, like their thoughts and ideas matter. Okay, we got. All right. So send in. Please send in. We're coming to time, so we got to stop. But thank you so much, everyone who shared. And I love to hear any other ideas that folks have, or if you need any guidance. For now, I'm just going to keep that folder open, and I'll be curating it and trying to make it a usable, resource. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions. Someone did put in the chat that PBL, their website does have some K to some early elementary projects as well. So please have a look at that. And I would love to get some feedback, and I wish I had made a form. Let's see. If folks can just tell me in the chat, and then we'll save the chat. But just let me know one thing you enjoyed about the workshop, and something. Say we were going to do a part two, right? An advanced version. What's something you might want, something you might want to know more about or be more curious about, or any suggestions that you have. I won't take it personally. I love to learn. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you, Crystal. So one thing you enjoyed about the one workshop, and then yeah, any other suggestions or thoughts that you might have. Great. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get some examples. So I've been developing my own education platform, and I'm working on getting it approved through the district. And so most of my lessons are already on that platform, and that's what I'm putting things into. And so as soon as I can get it approved, if you I can send it to you individually. We just couldn't. We had to only use approved things for this workshop. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Devlin. Yeah. Time and breakout sessions based on grade levels. I think that would have been great too. All right. I got to figure out how to do the breakout sessions. Y'all are going to push me to do my best. Okay. So yes, next time we'll have some breakout sessions. Okay. And join. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so glad folks were enjoying it. Yeah, that's what we would go into. That's definitely Mary, getting into more of assessment and some different assessment approaches. Yay, Devlin! I'm excited to go to Zimbabwe this summer. Okay, enjoy examples of. Awesome. I'm so glad people enjoyed it. My computer is on. Hold on. My computer is on one. Let me fix this before we have a problem. Okay. Thank you so